Yes.
Could be, you never know, things blow up out of nowhere.
That's all I have.
I was just gonna, did you put on here the scouts that are interested in the project?
I don't think that's on there.
I'll just bring it up and we can, if anybody's got any other suggestions.
Will's Island.
Rose Island, yeah, Jed's gonna be a busy guy in the evenings. And maybe I'll just update you on Crosby's, if we have a minute. But since we were at town meeting till 2 AM on Monday, or Tuesday morning, I don't mind getting out of here early tonight.
It was good morning when we left.
Oh, yeah.
Time's not gonna, the agenda's not gonna expand.
I make a motion, we accept the agenda with the,
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So our first scheduled hearing's at 6:30. We do have an RDA. We're gonna continue one. Is it Cody on Atlantic Drive? Is that Cote?
Yeah, that's gonna be a little later.
Is he?
That's not for us.
Oh, the RDA?
No.
All right, you want, so
Yeah, I think we have a 6:35 one for Greenwald, but I think we had Mike up for an informal for 117.
okay, let's do that
Lawson.
first. 117 Lawson Road. Sorry, Paul.
You are?
Not really.
That's what I thought.
Just wanted to see
I
if-
just wanted to get that on tape, yeah. Being polite to you.
That's okay, Fred. I enjoy being here.
We haven't seen you in a bit, so.
Charge him by the hour. Should charge him by the
Isn't it great? The sun's out, it's warm.
It is. The wind's blowing at your back. It's great. Windows are open.
You know, huh? Mr. Hayes?
Well, thank you.
Evening.
For the record, Mike Hayes, I'm an attorney in Scituate, and I represent Fran and Vicki Schlosser at who live at 117 Lawson Road. There is an existing order of conditions on the property for the garage that they started to build. And I trust you all got a copy of the email
Yeah.
that I had sent, and what's been going on with their family. And so the request is to allow them to pave their driveway, which would be of great assistance both to Mrs. Schlosser, but also to their daughter. So I mean, I've discussed it a little bit with Pat, and I hope you had an opportunity to get out there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Penny and I were there today, maybe for Bill and Paul.
Yep.
So we, back in 2008,
Yeah.
conditioned this garage.
Yep.
There's a wetlands right in the backyard here. We conditioned the garage, and at the time, the existing gravel driveway was going to remain. So the 50-foot buffer line is right here. What they'd like to do is pave this existing driveway. So there's about 10 feet of it.
Right, most of it's out of the
Out of the 50.
50.
There is about 10 feet that's in it.
So what is that, about 100 square feet? No, maybe 200.
14, probably 20, yeah, 200.
Yeah.
So,
Two cars.
just, I can maybe lead off if you don't mind.
No.
So they planted some birch trees in a cluster right here. And right now, this, the siltation's up, and this is sort of rough ground around the back of the garage, because it just got backfilled. They just maybe put the foundation in before the bad weather.
Just before.
Yeah. So, what I was thinking, they do have a hardship with the driveway, and if we allowed them to pave it, this contour doesn't show quite as well what goes on, but I think most of the water is going to shed towards the left side of the garage. So my thinking is that if they created a little bit of a swale, and then some sort of a filtering, maybe either a rain garden or something
that went down behind the birch trees
So,
there, yeah.
so that the water that's shed off of this driveway, Mike, rather than going right into the wetlands,
Could recharge.
got some
Yeah.
recharge, that would be a good solution. That's my own thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't see a problem. Most of it isn't even in this very small amount, like you
Yeah,
said.
it's in the 100, but it's a gravel driveway.
Right.
The problem I was, I think last time I was with them, is the wetlands is really a wetlands and it's right at the edge of the yard. The yard is not very big, but I think Frank, after being out there today, that a good trade-off would be to allow them to do the asphalt driveway. And get a rain garden or something, because it definitely, the slope
Right.
from that garage is gonna be pretty steep, and the birch trees are lovely, but it would be, that would make me happy.
It could go behind the birches, they'd just stay
Yeah.
where they are.
Yeah, and make something to help fill.
This thing sort of, it definitely pitches back, but it
Right, yeah,
also
you can
sort
see
of
the
rolls this
contour
way just a
lines, yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they could grade that.
No, if they did a swale and some planting over there.
So we just
Pat?
do a maybe.
Yeah, I would say a swale and plantings would do it, beside the garage.
Yeah, to get, because you will have some more runoff now when.
So we're
you have
just
an asphalt
doing an
driveway.
amended order of conditions type of thing?
I think, well, we don't, if we do an amendment, we have to advertise that.
I don't know, one of the thoughts was that, in conjunction with Pat, keeping an eye on things and would be just almost as a field change, but the only other thing I'd say about whether it would be a rain garden would be, I guess it would be the extent of what do you want for documentation as far as designing it and as-built and that type of stuff, because in all honesty, I think that would be, while it could be done, this family has gone from point A to point B in a matter of a month, where their uninsured medical bills has just exploded. And so, I mean, if we could do something that wouldn't require an as-built, and just do it in conjunction with Pat overseeing whatever you guys wanted to do, I mean, I know that would be appreciated by the family. They're a terrific family.
Yeah, I think one of the things the last time too is we revised the plan. We did a revised plan and turned the original garage into a storage shed, and then he changed his mind, but we did that under request to review a revised plan.
So it is a garage?
It's back to being a garage, I believe.
That is a garage.
Yes,
Okay, I
yeah,
thought
yeah. The footings have been poured,
Will be a garage.
and it's the same plan that was originally approved, and then we switched it, now we're back. But, I mean, if we did a swale to the left of the garage with some plantings, and then when the certificate of compliance requests come in, and we just, made sure
Take a look
that
at
that
it
was in
and
good shape and was taking care of the
Right,
runoff.
subject to approval.
Right.
Put a note in the file.
Who do you think would be doing like the backfilling and grading around the yard, Mike? Do you have any idea?
Well, Peter McEachran did the excavation for the foundation. I mean, I'm assuming he would, but I don't know, but
I'm just wondering if we could give you a plan so that you understand the basics of what, the rain garden isn't a complicated
Right.
thing. It's excavating out an area,
Right.
putting some material in for some absorption. You plant it with some plants that would kind of grow in either dry or wet.
sure.
And then that water would have a chance to be cleansed before it went into the wetlands.
Right.
And I don't think it has to be engineered or anything, but maybe,
Do a pre-construction like
That would be
with Pat, maybe.
That was my only concern.
yeah. We just, we are going to work with them, so we want to be sure that they do that piece of
I want
it.
to work with you too. so.
Right. Yeah, if it were part of a stormwater permit through the town, you would have to have it more engineered. But this is just, looking at the slope, we're just looking to have something that picks up some of the drainage. So it's, I think it can be done that way.
Okay.
Yeah, because, there is definitely, will be more drainage now. It's not going in the ground up at the garage.
Yeah.
Are they gonna keep the asphalt, Mike, at pretty much what it showed on this plan, the extent of the gravel area?
Yes, the existing,
It's gonna be 2 cars wide.
the existing driveway. yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if we have a
Audience.
motion on this.
Do we need a vote on that?
Yeah, I would say we need to vote a request to review a revised plan, and then if there's the name on the engineer on the stamp, if he's going to be doing the as-built in the end, that would be good if we could use the same person, get the same.
So that's
plan.
Bob Crawford,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so that shouldn't be a...
okay. And then you could
Bob's
have...
good at doing existing conditions.
Yeah, he
Yes.
has such an as-built.
And if you could, we could have Peter get in touch with us before he, does any planting or grading.
That could be the most difficult. Maybe we'll put Mike in charge of that. Tell you what, Mike, you're gonna be, you and Steve can be personally responsible for that. How do you like that?
Absolutely.
All right? We're glad for you to help out.
Believe me,
We had to vote. So
Motion?
we do need one?
Yeah, let's have,
appreciate it.
Wait, so what does the nature of the motion?
It would be request to review a revised plan, and if you accepted the revisions, and then we have a couple of conditions we can add. One is around the swale, and one is having them get in touch with us before they start the work.
Do you hear all that, Carol?
So, we...
Penny will help you out with that.
We requested the revised, we reviewed the request for revised conditions. We approved it with some outstanding conditions to be named later.
Well, you could say, pave the driveway,
it's okay to pave the driveway.
pre-construction meeting for building a
For
swale.
the, for the water runoff, yeah, right.
And a rain garden.
And some
Yeah.
water filter
Yep.
absorption.
Yep. Okay, so that's the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
They
Appreciate your helping.
They appreciate it very much.
60
Quick, Mike. Get out.
Lighthouse Road or Moreland or...
We could get Mr. Marabito moving along here if you want.
Really?
That's different.
Oh, okay.
Are you staying for both, or are you just...
Yeah, that's where she...
I think someone else is coming, by the way. So I think someone else is...
So,
Oh, Chris is here.
Chris just walked in.
All right.
I didn't think he was coming.
All right, we'll see you, Mike.
Pat, are we continuing Howe again?
Yeah, today, I called today, so there's a phone in, but yeah, I think we should continue.
So Penny, we're going to continue Howe to the...
Just to the next one,
Just to the next
May 6th,
one?
that's it.
Kick that can down the road.
I make a motion to continue 92 Flat Road to May 6th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now we have Cote at 38 Atlantic Drive and Central Ave, replace deck/soil tests. On April 15, 2015, during the 6:15 meeting at the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Michelle Cote, trustee for Cote Atlantic Drive Realty Trust, for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to perform soil evaluations and test pits on Central Ave, lot, do we have a lot number, or just Central Ave, just Central Ave lot, for a septic system serving a home at 38 Atlantic Drive. In addition, replace decks on property located at 38 Atlantic Drive, Hamaraca. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. So there's additional lot, Paul, next to number 38?
Is that the one
Yes,
across the
they-
street?
Yes, they own that land as well.
Do we normally do two at a time?
That's the, June?
Yeah.
The June?
Yes,
Where this winter? The fall?
January, yeah, we were early
I
January.
don't know, whenever before the storms came.
Yep.
The plan I submitted shows on the ocean side of the house, it shows a portion of the existing deck that was lost during the storm. We're proposing to replace that. Below the deck, on each side of the house, there was a leaching area which has been lost as well. The septic tank is on the right front corner of the lot as you look at it from Atlantic Drive. And the proposal is to keep that septic tank there and put a leaching area on the other side of Atlantic Drive in the area where we show the proposed test pits. The purpose of the RDA is to get your permission to conduct the soil evaluations and perk tests in the presence of the Board of Health agent, and then we would design a leaching area and submit that to the commission in the form of a notice of intent. That notice of intent would also address some existing a violation that they have or something
I got one over. Let's turn this like this. So their existing house is here, and then that empty lot is here. Yeah. So the ocean's here.
And this,
How are you going to address that outstanding on the sand dune? On Central Ave, the sand dune is
Okay,
relatively
what we're gonna do is, we're asking permission to do the test pits, so we can design the septic system,
Yeah.
submit that to the Board of Health,
Yeah.
and we'll also file a notice of intent
Armstrong and Douglas.
Yeah, I'm listening,
for the septic system,
yeah.
and also address the existing violation that you have, that they have out at the front portion of the property.
Will you be filing for the septic?
Yes, well, what we'll do is file a notice of intent, and we're gonna address the septic system as well as the violation for the work that was done on the front part of that lot on the Central Ave end.
That would probably make sense if the septic system's going in, and
Right,
then we
you're gonna
could
be
do
having
the
an excavator
planting and the
out there, and you'd be
repairs.
digging, you could fix the whole thing.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So we just don't want to drop the ball on that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
No,
because,
I sent a letter back to you in January saying that we had spoken with the homeowner.
It never got delivered, there was no mail.
Pardon?
There was no mail in January, so we never got it.
Oh, you never got it?
we did.
So,
No, but in the last paragraph, what I simply said was that,
if you have any questions, so we contact your office. So
no,
There
I
you
said
go.
the last sentence, the last paragraph. It said that a decision was made by the owner to have our firm evaluate alternatives for the site. The file a notice of intent application, which will also address previous work on Central Avenue portion of the property accordingly. We will be performing a survey of the property and expect to file a notice of intent this winter. Well, we didn't have a very good winter for doing work outside. In the meantime, they've lost their septic system, and that's their first priority, to get that back.
it's a good idea.
In order to do that, we need to file an RDA to do a perk test. I spoke to Pat, and he suggested we file for that.
Yep.
To do a perk test.
so, I'm confused as to what we're voting on.
Paul, is
now.
that
This-
brick structure, is that part of the...
Fixing the decks,
there was-
fixing the
brick
deck,
structure out on the...
doing the
what is
test
that?
pits
I don't know,
is what we're voting on right now. Then they'll come up with a plan for a septic and to fix all the grading and the problems on that
Okay.
vacant lot.
So is the deck in the same
No,
footprint?
it's across the street.
Yes.
The
Oh,
deck.
the-
The deck is the same
Yeah.
footprint and the same construction material and
We just
same
have-
footings and all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Just that one corner that got damaged.
Okay.
Do they have to put in just one footing, or that's all they need to put in?
Okay?
Okay, so when we were out there, we did do some holes, but you're gonna do specific ones for a septic.
You didn't do perk tests, you were just looking at sort of the ground
Exactly,
condition.
but we went down deep. But now it's a specific.
You didn't dump any water in the hole?
No, we didn't do water that
No
day.
water.
No. Oh, okay, I'm just trying to understand. But you're gonna stay more towards the Atlantic?
Yes.
Test pits?
Yeah, the leaching area has to be 10 feet in from the property line. That's why we placed the soil test pits where we show them.
Do you only need two, Paul?
We only need 2 for an upgrade.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to do 2 test pits and 1 perk.
If you have issues with those, you might shift around and have to dig another hole or something. It could possibly
Maybe,
happen.
but from what we can see, that's all sand out there.
It's all pure
All right.
sand. yeah,
Okay.
Pretty much, it's
Well-
probably gonna be.
Just it could happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what would that be for that, a negative what?
Yeah, I'd say it'd be a -3.
Paul hasn't even asked any questions yet. And we haven't asked anybody in the audience.
That's okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah, as long as we make sure that we come back to the issues that we were concerned about later on down the road, then I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'd say, Paul, after you guys do this, before you come up with your plan there, maybe get Pat and a couple members to go out and talk about what to do for the finished grading and everything on that lot that satisfies it. So you don't waste your time making a plan
Right,
that,
some of the finished gradings would be dictated by the septic system design, because we have to do the perks at high tide. That's gotta be at least a 10-foot tide,
right.
and then based on that, we have to set it vertically. And you can only have 3 feet of cover over at max on the...
Right, yeah, I'm talking more the end there, Central Ave, where that was, yeah.
Because that has to be...
Right.
What was taken away.
Okay. Anybody in the audience? Rosemary?
I'm just curious, I thought parking was an issue previously. Can they park over leach field?
If they use the- Yep, you use the right type of leaching field.
Those are part of the issues we were going to discuss on that Zoom, whether they could park there or not.
But when
It
you
will
put in
all-
a leaching field, it...
Hopefully come, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that's
Yeah,
still...
that's good.
Yeah, most leaching fields in Hummerock have people parking on top of them. That's real common in Hummerock, because the yards are so small. Everybody's got them like under their driveways.
In a lot of cases, they wind up in the driveway or something, they just,
I know. Yeah.
okay. So, negative,
Negative.
-3.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right.
Get that form,
Yep, right here.
pictures.
Yep.
Okay. This one here is Slosher. All right. We're going to just leave it in the end there or something, or whatever. So we're going to do the Tippin Trust. We'll do that one next.
Yeah, they have a 6:35 start time, so.
Okay. On April 15th, 2015, at 6:35 PM, the Town Hall of Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding Susan A. Pittman Trust to construct a common driveway and 2 new single-family dwellings at 35 Dreamwall Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
What about Stewart?
What's that?
What about Stewart? 160G.
We guess we jumped that one for a minute.
I believe it's just going to be continued.
Well, we
Anybody here
just
for
hope-
that?
Do you want?
No, it's going to get, Stewart's going to be continued if anybody's here for that. I don't think they are. We'll do it after that.
Okay.
That's okay, yeah. Sounds good to me.
All right, Jeff Bassett, Morse Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the Susan A. Pittman Trust, made up of Kim Stewart and Maureen Hurley, who doesn't look to be here this evening. This property is about 5 acres in size. It's 4.7 acres of upland. It's currently developed with a single-family home. It's number 35 Greenwall Road. They have a garage, a shed, a swimming pool, and lawn area. The wetlands on the property, excuse me, were delineated by Brad Holmes back in November. They consist of a BBW here, the upland portion of, on the other side of the wetland, which isn't very usable. The entire property is in a FEMA Zone X, so it's not in a floodplain. It's not within an estimated habitat nor a priority habitat. There are no certified or potential vernal pools on the property, according to the NHESP map. For the proposed development, we've divided the property into 4 lots with an A&R subdivision plan. 2 of them are 50-foot frontage lots. They require approval from the ZBA, which has been granted. Lot number 1 is completely outside of the 100-foot buffer, and will have its own driveway. It will not be accessed by the common driveway. Lot 2 is made up of the existing house, swimming pool, and outbuildings in the driveway. That driveway will remain, and a portion of it will be converted into a common driveway. When you come in off of Green Wall Road, you'll come in off of that same driveway, and that will then go back and service 2 new houses, which are lots 3 and 4. The width of that driveway, from here to here, will be widened to 16 feet. It's then 14 feet to this point, and then 12 feet going to the 2 houses with a 20 by 45 foot hammerhead turnaround. The driveway, all the associated grading, utilities, are all outside of the 50-foot no disturb buffer, with the exception of the rain garden here. That's in the 50-foot buffer, but it's in an area that's currently lawn. So we'll be converting a lawn area into a rain garden. It'll be planted with rain garden type, wetland type species. I think it'll be a nice improvement. Part of the common driveway zoning bylaw, they wanted to preserve as many trees as possible. And I think when we went out there, you probably would notice all the trees in the front yard is some cedars and maples. And so we've aligned the driveway in a way that we can save just about all of those trees. There's not really any major grading changes in that area, so it works out well. And I've graded the rain gardens so kind of around the trees, so most of the trees can remain. The houses are outside the 100-foot buffer, if I haven't mentioned that already, as are the septics. We'll provide a standard mulch stock along the limit of work, the down gradient limit of work. Stormwater calcs were performed for this. They are going to be reviewed, I understand, by the planning board as part of the common driveway application. And then in talking to Pat, he asked me to take a look at whether the wetland could have a vernal pool within it. That's really Brad Holmes' specialty, the wetland scientist. He went out and took a look at it yesterday. He really can't tell based on one visit, one way or the other, but you can say that he said it is holding water, but he doesn't see any of the eggs in it, or didn't hear any of the creatures that would make it a vernal pool. But in order to say that definitively, he'd have to analyze it for over a couple months and see if the eggs appear, how long it holds water for, etc. So this is kind of a tough situation. It would really take a couple months to figure out if it's a vernal pool. I'd rather not put the project on hold. I was going to suggest maybe we can really enhance the buffer zone with a planting plan and kind of treat it like it's more than just a BBW. But that's something I'll leave up to you to discuss.
That is kind of a pickle, because if it is the vernal pool, and there's one very shrimp in there, that's 125 feet buffer zone, and that would, the driveway. I'm glad to hear you're not gonna take any trees down, because it is lovely.
Yeah, it is.
The way it is now, and it looked like you could get the driveway between the trees, that would be very pretty.
Yeah, it's only a 14-foot driveway, so you really should be able to kind of meander it through
Yeah,
that.
it should be very nice. That is a little bit of a concern to me. I don't know if there is something out there. I don't know. Bill?
Where the driveway goes now, yeah, so if this, but this will be a new driveway, and that goes through the 100-foot buffer.
Yes.
Right. So how much of that is going through the 100-foot buffer?
How much of the driveway?
Yeah.
Well, on my plan, the green line is a 100-foot buffer.
Yeah.
And I've shaded in the driveway itself.
Yeah.
So this is existing driveway to here, so I'm talking this portion from here.
And that is going to be pavement?
Yeah.
And then the two, well, I guess these are outside the 100, so that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, once
Okay,
they
right.
leave the,
Okay.
yeah, the common driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really,
Okay, go.
No questions.
Well, as Jeff mentioned, the stormwater bylaw applies, so usually if there's wetlands in the area, the commission would hire the review engineer, but I guess under the shared driveway, it's been done under the planning board, so they're gonna be taking care of that. So, I mean, we won't be able to close until that issue's taken care of. But to get back to the...
Can I just ask a question on that? And I guess that runs a little contradictory to my understanding. When we formed the stormwater piece, we said that if there were wetlands on the site, the Conservation Commission would do the stormwater review. And if there are no wetlands on the site, then the planning board would do the stormwater review.
Right.
So regardless of whether the planning board has some jurisdiction, our agreement with the planning board at the time that they enacted the stormwater bylaw is that we would do the stormwater piece. I mean, we can look at their issues, or they can have review on that, but I don't really need a turf war on this, but we did have an understanding of how this, and that way, you know, people that submit plans, consultants, engineers, know where this is going. And so to me, I guess that's where I have an issue.
Right.
And I think we should get that clarified before we say that that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Right. Since I've been here, it's been that way. If there's wetlands, it's gone to conservation. What I think happened on this one is the language around shared driveways, they're required to do some type of stormwater review. So rather than have...
But we can get a consultant to do both, but we're going to have a consultant doing that, and he can review the stormwater piece as well.
Could do it that way, or, you know, maybe...
Right, like jurisdiction isn't based on roads, it's based on whether or not conservation is involved in the project.
Right.
Doesn't matter how many roads or what kind of roads, but I can see them wanting to review it.
Yeah.
But they could review what person.
Right. I mean, I haven't been involved in one with a shared driveway before. There might be some language in the bylaw that says if there's a shared driveway, they're required to. You don't think so?
No. It just says,
Based on if conservation's involved or not.
I mean, that's how we decided to split it up.
Right, and, yeah.
Like if the
So,
road was outside of the 100, he wouldn't even be here, he wouldn't be talking to us, they'd be doing the stormwater plan, and it would have nothing to do with us.
and because we have other issues, like Penny was saying, with the vernal pool, I mean, they wouldn't care about a vernal pool. They
Right,
might,
right,
but
right.
it's not part of their
Right.
review. So, I mean, I think that there's more, I understand they have to think about where that water's gonna go, but we have to be concerned with it with regards to the wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I'm glad to discuss that with the planning board.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Should we...
Yeah, but I think we need to maintain a consistency in that.
Right.
And,
This is the big meeting we had a few months ago, you know, to clarify who does what and when and
And there's
under
supposed to
what.
be another one, I don't know, sometime fairly soon. There's gonna be some other meeting with department heads to explain to people who does what. Isn't it coming up on the,
That's to see if you want to be on a committee,
Yeah.
Frank.
well, plus it's also supposed to explain to people what the different
Committees do.
committees do and who deals with what. So I definitely want to hammer that out, and I don't want it to keep
Yeah.
shifting back and forth.
Right, because,
So-
yeah, because I did send an
You
email...
don't have to
with-
come to the meeting if you don't want.
Yeah,
I'll be
no, I
glad to
did,
do that.
I did send an email on this one saying, oh, it looks like we'll be handling the stormwater review too, and then I heard back that, you know, when it's a
You
shared
copy
driveway.
me on that?
It was an internal, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'll send it to you.
When I filed this project, I assumed it would be reviewed, but stormwater would be reviewed by conservation.
Yeah, and you're right. Okay.
All right, why don't we, tomorrow I can get, I'll CC you and I'll send it to everybody.
Sounds good.
All right.
So, but I am concerned, with Pat, Penny and I and Lisa walked the site today and, you know, had those concerns. I mean, we're looking at that site. I know it's not a registered or certified vernal pool, but it has a lot of the characteristics. And we didn't see any outlet unless it goes into some pipe that goes into a street drain. But it didn't appear to me that there was anything. I poked around on the other side of the road a little bit. I don't know if you guys found an outfall pipe, but,
My surveyor located an invert, and I went out there today to look for it, and I think it must be clogged up because I didn't see it, and maybe it's below the water.
yeah.
But I'll I can probably...
I guess that's important to know.
Definitely clarify that, yeah.
And then Pat and I tried to follow some of the wetlands flags, because it does appear that that wetlands continues on, but it looks, from what we can see on the plan here, it looks like it goes beyond the property. We just couldn't see that part of it.
Which portion?
So it would be towards the house, so, yeah, right here, that line. Yeah. And we saw some flags and they ended and then the wetland continued, but he's showing that it's just sort of undelineated when it goes off the property.
Oh, yeah. This side of the line, from about here around, is actually delineated by another wetland scientist as well. There are two sets of flags.
Okay. Because,
Yeah, Brad's flags are the pink and black stripes.
yeah, I know that you'd like to get this moving and it's certainly for a good cause, but it is technically a division of land with multiple homes on it, and typically when we do that, we would have someone else review that wetland line, and I think that because we have the concerns about it being a vernal pool, I think that we would want to have a person review that line as well.
Now, there's one other thing about the vernal pool, though, too. Penny had mentioned the 125-foot buffer, and if something is going to require tree cutting and land clearing, the 125 is much more significant than it would be in this where it's existing lawn. So, if it turned out to be a vernal pool, it may not be a hard and fast 125 because you have
Just like
no
we're doing here
vegetation.
with the
Right,
tennis court.
like out here. So, but you're right, it would be a whole new jurisdiction would have to consider. Maybe mitigation plantings could offset, trade-off of lawn and stuff, so.
Yeah, well, to be honest though, when you get over here, that driveway, okay, right now, you're right along the 100, okay? But if you're getting into a vernal pool where they're actually building, which is this way, I don't know, south? On there, yeah, that way.
I think though, when Pat and I had sort of, I don't know what happened to you and Lisa, but you didn't come with us once we got into the briars.
No, we were watching the trees grow.
Yeah. So, really the water that's holding and all that stuff is sort of towards Dreamwell Road.
Okay.
It's a wetter area as it goes back, but I don't believe, we couldn't see that it was
Yeah.
really.
Well, I'm just
Right.
going by the lines that they put on the
Yeah.
plan here. So I'm looking, you come in some more.
But the water is really where a lot of this, sort of the water line is sort of where all the stat numbers are.
Right,
And,
Right.
well, probably going back a little bit more, but not,
okay. Oh, I see the possibility.
yep. So not to hold you up, but we do want to figure out this stormwater piece, and then I think we should get someone to just take a look at that, Pat. You can come up with the person.
Yep. We can get in touch with you, maybe Walter or somebody, we could have check it out. And we can talk to Brad, too, about what he found when looking around for the vernal pool
Yeah.
species stuff.
Yeah, and if there's an outlet there hidden that you couldn't find.
I think there might be one that's clogged up,
Okay.
but, we'll take another look.
If it does go somewhere, I just didn't see an outfall on the other side, so it would have to be going into a storm drain or something.
Yeah.
Because the topography of that just leads right into that big, it's almost like a little valley.
Yeah, so there's a pipe coming in, so the closed drainage is a catch basin here, and then it goes that way,
Right.
down the street. I popped this manhole cover today, and there is a pipe coming in from this direction. It was totally clogged up with sediment. And we do have an invert here, invert 4562, that was located at one point when the property was surveyed. I didn't see that today, but yeah, that's definitely something we'll look at before the next meeting.
Did you carry a snake in your car?
Okay.
We're just going to continue it.
So I think, well, do we want to just continue it to the next meeting, or do you think we're going to need a...
Weeks though.
Yeah, did planning board have a date when they were going to bring this up again, or?
I don't, we do have a date for the common driveway.
Okay.
I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
Probably May sometime, or?
May 14th, that sounds right.
Okay.
But I would think we would have to go to May 20th so we can get somebody out there to look at it. I mean, it's only, next meeting's only 2 weeks away.
Could we try for that meeting, and if we have to continue, we will?
Okay, I mean,
It's 3 weeks, right? It'd be the 6th.
Sixth.
Yep.
Yeah, so you get a little bit
oh,
more
all right,
time.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's 3 weeks. Okay, I make a motion to continue.
Is anybody that wants to speak?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Anybody in the audience would like to speak to this?
Raise a question, my name's George Kelly, Country Way. I'm in a butter in terms of Briarwood and technically in a butter in Country Way. Ms. Fippen spent a lot of money to not have anybody encroach. Of course, I don't know anything about her will or her wishes, but I'm just disappointed that all the land that she bought to protect this particular property, which is a spectacular piece of property for the neighborhood, and it's being broken up into what is possibly allowable, but it isn't what her dreams were, if I understood why she bought the land she bought. She bought behind the antique house on Branch Street. She bought from Dan Sutton, from Curtis and Branch Street. So I'm very disappointed to see something happening that's totally, from my viewpoint as a neighbor, totally different from what she was establishing. And it's sort of sad in a way. Was this her wishes? I don't know.
Excuse me. Kim, are you
And
a
I can answer that if it's germane to the question.
are you a trustee for?
Yes.
So,
So Susan was not...
you just state it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're pretty
Kim
well-known,
Stewart.
but...
Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah.
Kim Stewart, 35 Brook Street, trustee for the Susan A. Pippin Trust, a co-trustee with Attorney Wayne Hurley. As many of you may or may not know, the proceeds from this sale are going to go to the animal shelter in Scituate and Scituate Community Christmas. Susan was not specific. We have a fiduciary responsibility to get the best price that we could for that property. We feel that this plan was aesthetically pleasing. It wasn't a subdivision. We didn't tear down the house to put up more houses. We did what we think is the best thing, sort of in the middle, because she was not specific with us as to what she wanted us to do. It was not written down. All we were told by her attorney was that we needed to get the best price that we could for fiduciary responsibility to the two charities that we are responsible for.
I see. Is that,
So, I don't know what to tell you, Mr. Kelly. I'm sorry. I know what you're saying. She did do that. We were surprised ourselves, but...
Okay. Hey, who knows?
I think she
People die.
wanted to see those charities benefit from it.
Yeah, they're both worthwhile things. Animals, to me, don't come first, that's all. Trustco does. It's too bad it didn't all go to a trustee.
I guess that priorities change as we age a little bit.
We do.
Anybody else? Steve?
Yeah, I'd just make a comment. Steve Bjork on 15 Captain Daniel Litchfield Lane. I talked to Sue a number of years ago when she was compiling some of the different parcels of property. And across from George's house, there was an old antique cake that was available for sale. And I actually looked at that to purchase it, and it had some of the additional land in the back. And I was going to try and develop, at that point in time, an additional lot. Sue had called me to ask if I would allow her to purchase that lot, and it wouldn't be built on for a while, but she did indicate that at some point in time, the property would get developed. So, going back when she was acquiring the property, she knew at some point that the property was going to get developed.
All right. Anybody else? So we're on for,
I make a motion to continue until May 6th at 6:30, Pippin Trust, 35 Green Mall.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So in the meantime, we're going to contact the environmentals. scientist, and we'll discuss the stormwater with the planning board.
Okay, and I'll have Brad Owens start looking at it now.
Great. Thank you.
Very quickly, why?
Technically, a vernal pool is not supposed to have inlet.
It just seeps into the
If there's
ground.
a drain that's clogged and you open the drain and the water's
And
gone,
then it's
it's
not
not a
a
vernal
vernal
pool, it's the clogged drain.
Well, but more importantly, it's not a pond. If
Yeah.
a stream goes in and goes out, it could be a pond or something like that, but when it's like a depression or something that holds water, because the characteristics, if we had Lisa here that just finished up all those,
Yeah, I was reading up on it just the other
Yeah,
day.
no, but that's-
I didn't see the pipe thing.
that's
That was
one
a
of
great
the-
question, thank you.
He's a waterways guy. What does he
Yeah,
know
what
about
does he know?
wetlands?
Just, yeah,
you could put a boat on
into the
it,
open water.
Navigable?
or with a canoe.
Okay. Stuart, you better bring me that.
Okay, Stewart, 160 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, raise, rebuild. How long, any idea how long we're gonna?
It's still going through zoning
And the other
appeal.
might be long more, so I'd go out at least a month on that.
Okay.
Okay. I make a motion to continue Stuart to 6:30 on May 20th.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We have 64 Moreland and 82 Lighthouse, right? Well, you ladies are here for, okay, come on up.
Oh. Were you the person we saw it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
You were out
You were
there.
first at the house when we were at the house, right there, yeah.
So this is 82 Lighthouse, right?
Right, yes. We received a call that it appeared that someone was going to be starting to pour footings, and it was done up against a stone wall along the inner part of the harbor. And some of the work had been done on the stones at the harbor, so we went out there and, you know, this house has been there for a long time. People have done work on their home and didn't realize that there was a permit required for work out there. So put a hold on the work, and as we discussed it, we left it with the property owners that they may look into some other type of thing rather than a poured slab kind of deck out there. They talked about maybe looking at a wooden deck, and then that would trigger a building permit. And we also looked at other rocks, have they been compromised at all, and whether they would be okay, so.
Were they
The
compromised?
building department.
I'm not an engineer, but I mean, it's in the inner part of the harbor. They're not in a velocity zone, they're not getting direct wave action, but it's, you know, it's one,
The deck itself goes right on top of the seawall.
yeah, I guess it's been a spot where you've had a stairway going over that for years down to the water, so
It's
it's,
going over.
yeah, it's kind of even with the lawns, all lawns along there, so.
Okay. So, what's your,
Well, I think when I saw, it's Mary, right?
It's Mary, yeah.
Yes, we talked about, you know, going, it was a whole trust, there's a number of people involved, and Ann is one of them, to see if they have something in mind, if they would like to file a notice of intent to go ahead with the deck in that area. And it would be over lawn, and it would be coming out, but you wouldn't be able to do anything on top of the rocks. And then, I don't know if Kevin is responsible for looking at seawalls along that point and revetments or not. But I mean, we could have someone take a look and see if, you know, if it's fine the way it is, but we just know that you can't pour concrete on it. That was the main thing, so.
And we know the building department was interested, they did express an interest in the.
Yeah, when it's a slab, concrete type of a patio, they don't get involved. They only get involved if it's a wooden one, so they look at that as a landscaping
So that makes
feature.
sense to somebody.
Yeah, not to us, but I would have thought concrete would be a lot more, you know, something you'd want to look at, but.
and I should have asked you to state your names, I'm sorry.
Mary Stacy.
And Delano.
And you're owners of the property?
We're both beneficiaries. The house is owned by a family trust, and we're both beneficiaries in that trust.
So, right now, is there a disturbance? So,
Right now, I guess the footings are still in place, I mean, the forms are still in place, and but they were set up for concrete, so that's kind of been taken off the table.
But the forms are in the same perimeter as the deck that was there before.
Right,
So there's.
but it was a concrete,
Right.
yeah.
so there was a concrete patio that was removed?
Yes, that was dug up. And so that impervious is gone.
Okay.
And now we're waiting to see, first of all, what the family is interested in putting down and replacing that, and then whether it's something, what type of permitting and building permit and what would need to take place. But as part of this, we could take a look at the wall and just see.
So you're saying that this is retaining wall or a seawall? or-
It's a big stone, riprap wall.
It's been there a long time.
Yeah, it's connected, several houses all have these right along there, so,
Packed in there. That's
Okay.
my major concern.
right.
It's if one rock is moved, what has it done to the integrity of that riprap?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they've been there for years and years, so they're like wedged in. And if you move one, which from the email, that's what I got. And when I went out there, I was kind of around the edge there. So
Right,
that's
if
my concern, is the integrity of that riprap been compromised at all?
And it's, as I was saying, it's in an A zone, but it's not a velocity zone, and they don't get the storm waves from the backside of the house either as you do further down. If you're down around the end near Jericho, you get water coming both directions.
I understand that, but
Right.
still, that-
Right.
So,
You don't want them moving.
so should they be, are we looking for them to file an RDA for this work, or?
I don't know, did you guys talk over what you'd like to have in that location?
I mean, honestly, we'd like to, that patio, we have pictures of it, was there since at least 1973, and it did quite well. The reason we were looking to replace it, and I just gotta tell you the process of what I went through, certainly was not trying to bypass the Conservation Committee. I called the building department, I told them what we were gonna do, and they said it was an existing structure, so in no way was I trying to be sneaky here, that I didn't even need a permit. So this has been like a lot of work. It's exactly the same structure that has been there. Like I said, we have a picture since 1973, and the reason we were replacing it was getting undermined underneath. So you could see underneath that maybe it could go down in those rocks, some of that cement. We've been there for over 75 years. We didn't want that to happen because we had the stairs, which did, the two bottom stairs, probably did go into the ocean during a storm. Since
still need to
we never
find out.
replaced those, and we put wooden stairs down there. So
Right.
really, the whole intent for us to do this was for it not to happen. There was no steel in that cement. I think it was put in by my uncle, honestly, like, I don't know, what's that, 40-something years ago, with no steel and probably the cheapest cement ever. And it did well, but you could see underneath it, it was definitely decaying. So it was a safety issue, and it was a conservation issue, so.
And it's
Anything down
exact-
there is conservation.
I know, well, yeah.
It's the exact same footing, so it's not like
Exact
it's
same.
going further into the rocks.
Right.
It's the exact same.
No, we understand that, but it still is our jurisdiction, and we want to make sure whoever's doing it, they don't do it right.
So was this damaged at all during the storms this winter, or was this something you were doing?
It's never
just-
been, our house has we've never had it flood. I mean, it's like,
Lucky.
that house has endured. The only thing was spindles on the porch. I mean, it's like we've never had flooding, we've never had water on the porch, we've never had any of that. But what was happening, you could see, probably from the salt, it was undermining the patio, the cement patio
Sure.
underneath.
So basically, you've removed a patio and you want to install a new patio?
I'd like to, yeah. It's been there a long time. I have a vested interest. I have a daughter in a wheelchair, and it just works perfect. If we put in a lawn, then we have to worry about that, her getting down, and that's just my own personal thing.
Are we
But
open to not in concrete? Are we open to that discussion?
Somewhat, we are. I mean,
Okay.
it's just been, it's been there always.
Right, but and they're also, when you
like-
get into replacing and repairing existing patios,
No. I just don't want to rip that.
What's that?
I just want to make sure we stay off the riprap.
Right.
It's on the riprap.
But if it's
The deck is on the riprap.
It's on it.
the deck.
What does that mean?
No.
Yeah, the deck goes on to the stone,
It's poured right up to the
stones.
stones?
Yeah.
On top of the stone?
No,
I didn't go out
I think it
there.
went to the edge.
to the edge.
Yeah.
It's the same exact, I
Yeah,
do
right.
know that. It's the same exact size. It was big. I mean, it's a big patio.
So I don't know where we,
So after discussing among yourselves, you prefer to stick
We
with the
really
concrete?
would, honestly,
Right, that's-
yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, if this were in a velocity area, or place where we'd have wave action, we'd discourage folks from putting a concrete deck back because we think that that just accelerates the water going towards the house. In this case, it's not. It's the rear of the house.
If it hadn't been there, you'd never be able to do it now.
Right.
but,
Well,
yeah,
except
yeah.
there's 2 houses down that not too long ago, they put in a cement patio.
Yeah, I saw that.
Same kind of thing.
Yep.
On a
No,
Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they might have
I'm
filed.
not saying anything about that one.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, we don't know that. They might have filed to replace, I mean,
They rebuilt that house, so they had to have a building permit, so someone, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
can that be done with an RDA? If it was existing and
Same
then
footprint?
removing and replacing it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd want to make sure that whoever did it was doing it right. And as you were saying, you know, the concrete is not impacting the wall, it's not going to
Right,
be
maybe an
getting
RDA with an
undermined.
engineer drawing the plan and reviewing it, you think?
I don't know who would be the best person to oversee a concrete job like that. I mean, maybe the contractor has somebody they work with, or...
Yeah.
The other thing is, you were saying it undermine, we want to make sure it wouldn't undermine again, and you're in the same
He was
position.
gonna, I mean, I have the plan with it, but what it, I mean, it was bare bones. It didn't have anything underneath, had no steel in it. I mean, he's gonna steel reinforce it. He's gonna actually have like a whole, you know, like base on the bottom, which didn't have before. There was nothing. It was poured concrete.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think my uncle did. He just poured it in there. 1970 or so, I don't even know.
So I think
but-
what would be a good thing for you to do is maybe who's ever going to do that work needs to give us a little bit of a drawing.
Well, I have a drawing. It's got some,
Well,
not great.
regardless if you have it, you're going
Yeah.
to have to file what we call an RDA. You're going to have to file with the commission
Okay.
a request for a determination of applicability.
okay,
And Carol or Pat can give you a little bit more
Okay.
information. You go online, you can file that.
okay,
When you file that, you're going to have maybe a plot plan showing some of the property lines, and then also some detail as to just what you're doing. Maybe
Okay.
that along that seawall area, maybe
Yeah.
some, might need some filter fabric or something to keep the earth from running underneath
Okay.
that. So someone should take a little time to make some notes, maybe a little sketch
okay.
as to how that's going to work.
Contractor, are you talking about the contractor?
The contractor could put it together, I think.
Yeah, they usually can, and they could,
We can do anything. But,
Accurately? No, what?
is it Chris Silva?
It's Chris Silver, and I guess I'm confused with what more you're looking for than what's on here. He's got the whole size and all that stuff. I mean, like, what it was gonna be.
well, I think you're going to need some sort of plot plan to show where this is on the lot. If it's the whole backyard or what it is, we
Yeah.
need to know where this is
Okay.
on the property. And then maybe you want to talk with him a little bit and just make sure that it's detailed enough in terms of how he's going to do this work. He's already removed the concrete.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they had to stabilize anything. I don't know whether there's been some erosion. I mean, those are the kind of things that, this
Yeah.
is the reason that things get filed.
Yeah.
So that people do it correctly, that the
No, I
material
get it.
gets removed, it doesn't get tossed in the ocean.
Yeah.
Um,
I gotta say though, for him, and this, we didn't even, he brought up that discussion with me. I gotta say that. He made comments about absolutely, like, the cement not getting in the ocean, even before, I didn't even bring it up,
Yeah.
honestly. He brought it up
Yeah,
though.
well, I'm
So,
surprised
I mean, I know that.
if he's familiar with working around the
He's worked in
ocean.
Scituate before, but,
Quite honestly, he probably
Should've
should have
known.
known that he needed to file something, so.
Right, okay.
And it is unfortunate, you know, depending on the questions you ask the building department, you said to the building department, I want to build a concrete patio, and they say to you, well, that doesn't trigger a building permit, so.
Because it was an existing structure.
So folks are off and running, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not under the purview of conservation.
I mean, because it's a summer home, I guess our concern is like,
Well, so if you were to put the RDA together and get it advertised, we have a meeting in 3 weeks. So you could get that in, and the IDA's done in one meeting.
The other issue is that my daughter is getting married in Scituate on June 6th, and we have family and, coming to that house, and we wouldn't be able to do it. I have 60 people coming to that.
Well, when's the next meeting?
May 6th.
June
So
6th.
you'd have a month after that to do that work.
I just, he's not here, so Chris is great, and I think he's really good at his work, CLS Concrete. He drew me a picture as opposed to like a computer, so I don't think he's really gonna be, I don't know if he can draw this great. We have like one of the owners of this house, our family, is a civil engineer with,
That'd be great.
I'm sure he wouldn't
Right,
mind
what
at
you're
all.
gonna need,
He's
basically,
actually-
everyone's
sorry.
dancing around with
Yeah, I
sketches.
just
You're
wanna
gonna
make
need,
sure I
like,
have the
it doesn't
right
have to be
thing.
tremendous, we're gonna need an engineering drawing. How thick is the slab? How does the slab
Okay.
join the seawall? Some
Okay.
detail.
Okay. I think,
Right, something
I don't know.
along.
I mean, I got to draw it here, but it's not very professional, and I want to make
Right.
sure it's really important.
So I think this fellow that's an engineer could help you with the RDA
He could,
and all that,
okay.
but you need to get it in right away, because it needs to get advertised.
Like, what's right away, I guess.
Yeah, you have to have it, Carol, for the next meeting. Not you, Patrick's gonna have to have it.
That's, you'll be gone. If it were in a week from today, right, would that be it, Carol? Week from today?
So what's the date on that?
Yeah, we get it.
May 6th is the next.
Yeah, the form isn't too bad. It's like a 3-page
Yeah,
form
but-
to fill out, and then just.
So you need
I
that
get that.
information basically by the 22nd. Are you on vacation next week?
No, if they get it in next week, I can do it.
If you can get the plan in next week, then we can get it advertised and,
Before the 20th.
okay?
Before the 22nd.
Carol,
An IDA is just an ad in the paper, right? It's not about a notification, so it's simpler.
Can you get the paperwork from you? Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
And then we'll try to expedite that as well. But, anything, the more information you get, the quicker we can
Okay.
take a look at it. If it needs a little tweaking, we can
Okay.
get that.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, does anybody have to speak to the contractor specifically, or, I don't know.
I mean, he could come to the meeting with you if he
Okay,
wanted to.
all right, I'll have him come to the meeting.
But we someone would meet with him before he started back up
Okay.
the work.
Okay.
and we'll have seen the plan, and if we notice anything, we can give them a call, too.
Okay.
If there's any questions.
All right.
So, and if you see a neighbor starting work, tell them to call us,
Okay,
Thank you, ladies.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So try to get that so that you don't have
Oh,
problems.
yeah.
But nobody wants wet cement on their wedding dress.
I have a bride to be in tears.
Yeah.
It's not a happy scene.
Why is it that all those things always wind up way more
Thank you very much.
complicated?
I don't know, I have no idea. Why, we could have just used the broken patio. It's like, I was worried about buying flowers to put on the patio. I was
Go home, tell her, as long as it doesn't rain, it won't be muddy.
Sign in the building. If you want,
If you're on the water.
Yeah, no handcuffs for you, too, this time. Nice seeing you, Ian. Yeah.
Thank you, bye-bye.
82 Lighthouse? Is it, what do you guys?
That's it.
Oh, yeah. So Moreland Road, sorry. I didn't realize that's what you were here for. Sorry about that. Have a seat.
Yeah, Chris sent a letter, and I sent that all out to you guys last night. It was the whole Moreland situation.
You were gonna be first at one of them, but Paul took first on the other project, so he had to wait on the...
This is yours.
Fire away. Okay, you leaving?
When we came to the board,
I know you guys are both well-renowned, but you need to,
yes, have
like, introduce.
when we came to the board a few years ago, there were issues.
Meaning that you have to state your name.
For the record.
There we go.
My name's Paul Maravito from Ross Engineering Company, representing the owner and applicant, Kate Ayers, and with me is Christopher Kennedy, the landscape architect for the project.
Thank you, Mr.
A few
Marabito.
years back, we came with a committee with notice of intent for a proposed addition to the house. And as part of that, there was a planning plan submitted by the project working scientist, Brad Holmes. And since that time, the work has been completed on the house, proposed addition, and now it's coming to a point where they want to install the plants that were required under the order conditions. What the applicant has done is hired Chris Kennedy to look at the planting plan that was prepared by Brad. And he prepared a separate plan which he feels is a much better mix of plants for the slope, both from the point of view that he feels his plants would be more stable for that slope compared to what Brad submitted. The plants he has are native. They are conducive to that environment, the salt water and the salt air. Also, the plants he has are a little bit larger in the sense that they're a more woody plant and probably stabilize the bank and is more substantially than what was proposed by Brad.
Pat, do you have Chris's plan? I know we have Brad's plan up here. Or do you have an
I have a
extra one?
sm-
I have an extra one.
They have a small,
Yeah, well, they got a couple. Thank you.
Yeah.
And another thing to mention is, I actually did not see the original plan until I met Patrick there the other day. So she came to me, you know, asking me about some trees, and I couldn't find a place to, I didn't understand where she wanted to plant the trees. And then we clarified some of that in our more recent meeting. But it didn't make sense for me to see where they were going to plant 3.5-inch caliper trees on the banking. So I had suggested these shrubs. I kind of came in late to the process.
But here's the issue that I think we have, and I'm trying to, these hearings go on and projects go on for some time. But I believe that when we conditioned this project, they were cantilevering a deck, and they were bringing a deck further towards the marsh as part of their project, Paul.
I believe the sonotubes were in the relatively same place, but a deck was cantilevered, but off the first floor. And they had a structural engineer design the cantilever, but I don't believe the piers were any closer to the marsh.
It seemed to me like I recall that this was getting enlarged a little bit, and it's right up along the edge of the marsh. I mean, it's pretty darn close. You can't get much closer.
The sonotubes or the piers are actually in the flat portion, and maybe a couple feet past that, as you go toward the marsh, it slopes right down.
Right.
But what they did was up top, there is a larger deck up top now than what was there before, but that's the cantilever.
Right. But, so my point is that we allowed that, but there had been trees that were cut down. There's, some pretty substantial stumps still there, and they probably ought to remain there to maybe plant around them. But if you try to dig out those stumps, you're going to really loosen that slope. But there were trees that were cut down in front of that house, so that was one of the reasons that the commission requested trees along with the plantings that Brad had done. Personally, I don't think that anybody has a real concern whether you plant high tide bushes or you plant winterberry, as long as, you're the one that's got to guarantee there's plants and make sure that they stand up and that they're...
Right.
But part of the reason for requesting trees was to deal with the issues that some trees had been cut and that they made the deck come out further. And so now the dilemma is the deck sticks out further, so now there's not a good spot for the trees. So we didn't create that problem, the owner did.
No, but trees that I saw, I didn't see the trees when they were cut, and I didn't see the stumps, but we did see them out there Friday, the stumps that were there, and I would agree with it, they should stay there, to pull those stumps out and wreck the bank. But there's a choke cherry that's probably 3 or 4 feet tall yet, And there were two stems coming out of that, and one was clearly dead. You know, and Chris saw it as well as me. There was another 8-inch
Well, they
tree.
die once you cut them down.
No, the tree was diseased, you could see the one stump, the one section. But the other trees that I saw, the stumps, I think I saw a 6-inch and maybe an 8-inch that was cut. And then in the woods, there was a larger pine, it looked like a pine, maybe it was cut, or a big choke cherry over on the property line. The owner doesn't have a problem putting the trees in, but when Chris was out there, his comment was, well, a 3.5-inch caliper tree is big. The ball root is big, and to get equipment down there, it's probably gonna do a lot of destruction of the bank, number one. And we thought that those trees had to go in the bank. And what Chris was saying to us Friday was that if you try to put those trees on the bank, they're gonna last there. Because of the hole you have to dig, and they're just gonna go over, they're gonna take the bank with it. So what we did was to look at other areas on the lot where we could put those trees. And that lot has quite a few trees on it now. And I'll let Chris explain what his dilemma and concerns were about putting, 6 3.5-inch caliper trees on the property. Again, the client is not opposed to putting those in, but I'll let Chris explain what he thinks might be the best solution as to where to put them and how.
Okay.
Yeah, and have you guys seen the property?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what we were trying to figure out with Patrick, is what locations where we could put them, and did we have to put them on the bank? Because the three of us were in agreement that a 6-foot wide hole on the bank was going to cause a problem. And if you guys, I guess, agree with that, the thought was, all right, where else can we go?
Except that bank is pretty destabilized anyway. There's not a lot holding that bank right now.
Right.
So, definitely, I agree that some larger trees probably need to be left or right of that deck or house. There's an area between the house and their shed or whatever that little building is, and there's probably some room on the other side.
Sure.
But when we were out there, we kind of looked down the whole area there along the cliff, and what I noticed was a lot of cedars growing there, and I'm just wondering if maybe it's feasible to think about planting some cedars, maybe some smaller ones, in front of that house that over time will develop.
Okay.
If you can't start out by putting in a ball this big.
Sure.
We all agree that that'll happen, but if you have, maybe a 3-foot cedar or something that
Right.
is manageable, that can be dug in by hand, and place some of those along with the other bushes. And if you have suggestions on what would be fairly deep-rooted and stable, we'd certainly, there's a lot of rows or so that's not always the most friendly thing to plant.
Yeah. Okay, well, a couple of things. When I came in, I was looking at it for multiple different, angles, as I always do. I look at aesthetics, every reason. And I wasn't thinking that a tree made a lot of sense to dig it on the slope. I just kind of almost ruled it out.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, pulling them back would make sense. So if you wanted to put a couple of large caliper trees in there, we could do that, but where it's a little bit flatter. And I still think there's room to do that. And my reasoning for shrubs was that it might give you guys, a better feeling that they're getting something more substantial than that, but a tree just didn't seem to make the sense. So if we did smaller cedars in around, yeah, I wouldn't pick them because I think they're ultimately going to ruin their view. And as a designer, I wouldn't do that. But I guess they would have the right to prune them to some degree. I don't know if that's the case.
Probably.
But
Vista pruning, yeah.
I had a conversation with her, and I said, the things that I am proposing will probably take away your view on the lower level. I said, but I think you're going to have to sacrifice some of that to appease you guys. And if I use all natives and woody things, maybe that will help. The cedar part of it, they could give it 25, 30 feet. And that, I don't think they were cut down because they were trying to do anything. My understanding, it had nothing to do with the project itself. I think the father came along and said, he thought he was doing them a favor, and he obviously wasn't.
Right.
So I don't think it was related to the project, from my understanding. I could be wrong.
So our concern is stabilization and habitat.
Right?
So that's what we'd be looking to do. So if you've got some suggestions in that, but at the same time, obviously, we soften the hardness of that house from the marsh.
Sure.
And have, we have some nice growth on either side. And again, if you look down that way, you can see what's sort of natural and what's worked over time. And,
Right.
Maybe the view in a couple of spots is going to be compromised a little bit, but
I explained that, and I think she's, okay with that. And that's what the neighbors ended up doing. I guess they have shrubs all on that at the same level along the bank.
Right.
And I took a look into their yard and I walked it, and it was kind of, it wasn't the same mix of plant material, but it was pretty similar to what I had suggested.
Yeah.
And then when I saw Brad's plan, I thought, well, maybe we could do a mix of both of those, and then if you still wanted 6 trees, maybe we could reduce the trees, add more shrubs, and put a couple trees somewhere on the property as, I guess, to repay for some of the large,
I think that's important. I think if there's a couple larger trees that could be done, and then if it's cedars, you're the guy that needs to know
Okay.
which are the right kind of trees to plant there, but that's...
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay native, and, I just was having a tough time saying, I don't want to go into my crew on that bank, because
Right.
I didn't think you guys would like that either, so.
Yeah, see, I think too that the project's taken so long to get to this point that the bank has deteriorated a lot, over this period. And I don't think the bank was quite so bad when this first started, but there were trees cut. So
Sure.
we had to do something, so let's,
Yeah.
stabilize
by the
it.
time you're done putting up ladders and staging and all that stuff to build that,
Oh, yeah.
certainly stuff gets knocked down, so...
Sure, and so, over the years, just the weather, because it's been a while going on.
And I think it's everyone's interest to stabilize that bank.
We need to stabilize that bank.
Right. So I had told the homeowner,
Cut trees down in, area like that.
Resource area.
Place them somewhere.
Sure.
Property. I mean, that's part of our job,
sure.
so.
William?
I think you can do that.
Well, can I clarify something? The trees that were there were on as you came up from the marsh, were on a flat part of the marsh, and
Well, they
then...
actually sort of grew out of the bank a little
Oh,
bit.
My guess would be they were probably at all angles, and they were probably misshapen and all that. And disease and, issues like that.
They started out as saplings, little seedlings, and grew into that
Yeah.
bank.
I'd never saw them. I came in after.
See, it came after that.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, so, whatever we can do. Yeah.
Stabilize the bank.
Yeah, same thing, is plant and stabilize the bank, don't plant any trees that are gonna destabilize it, and if you're good with sticking some trees somewhere else to make up for the trees that were cut down, you kinda...
So my suggestion was to increase the amount of shrubs, to bulk it up a little bit, and decrease the amount of trees, because I was having trouble. We took pictures of canopies of trees, and in actuality, the choke cherries she's already got a few on there that are, she's got little kids running around there, and if anything, they should be taken down, but she really can't without your approval, and I don't want to be taking stuff down so I could plant things.
Well, once some other stuff gets growing, maybe we can talk about it.
I know, exactly. So I said, let's see what we can do. So maybe a couple trees, shrubs, and
So
then
does
take
this-
Brad's stuff and I'll add it to it.
So does this plan represent what?
No, I think he's got to add some...
So you're gonna add...
There's no trees on this plan right
You're
now.
gonna add some smaller trees.
I think we could do a mix of what Brad had suggested and what I am suggesting,
Okay.
and then adding a couple of trees and just bring them back a little bit so they're
So
not
can-
on the bank.
But along with those couple of trees, maybe we could think about a few cedars that run across the front of
Sure.
the house as well. Even if they have to start out on the small side, so you can safely plant them,
Sure.
would be good.
And can Pat look at that?
Well, I think, Chris, will you make up
Submit.
a new sketch or add to
I
that?
can do that.
Chris, what would you recommend on that kind of a slope? What would be the best plant that would take on that? I'm just curious, because the guy next door has planted a lot of shrubs. He's got a flat area, so would Rose rugosa or some of the, other plants you recommended, would they take okay on that kind of
Well,
slope?
I think what Brad had was was
But
good.
it's low, okay.
They just weren't as significant, I guess.
But I mean, of your
So the
plans-
panicums, the switchgrasses, I think they would
Okay.
do well there. They had Iva and Solidago, is it goldenrod?
Right.
So that's fine, and then if we could bulk it up with some
Some of
winterberries
yours
and...
would take it that
blueberries.
angle, that difficult angle of...
I believe so. I mean, I wouldn't go into the marsh, I would be on the slope side and up a little higher.
There's just a couple other things we noticed there. Maybe, Paul, there's some bricks and some debris and stuff that's right on the marsh, or in the marsh, that should get cleaned up. I don't know whether it came from construction that was there or stuff that was there before they got the house, but there's definitely some bricks and stone and whatnot. But the other thing we noticed is a 6-inch PVC drain pipe that looks pretty new, that's discharging right onto the marsh.
Yeah, I saw that pipe when I was out there Friday. I don't know what it's picking up. I wouldn't think it's a cellar drain, because it's very big. Cellar drains usually.
We didn't happen to walk around to see if there was a drain at the driveway, but that's a pretty new pipe, and I don't see it on any of the plans that you submitted.
We don't know. Doesn't belong.
So do we know where that came from, or what is
I
up?
don't, I'll have to check into it and see what it was.
At a minimum, it shouldn't just discharge like that. I mean,
I didn't see water coming out of it when I was out there Friday, so.
was it raining?
Friday? No, it was cloudy and raw, but no.
You know, a lot of times,
I didn't look in the driveway to see if there's a catch basin there at all.
It's a steep driveway, probably is driveway drainage that,
The pavement's been in the driveway a while. I mean, it isn't.
That might be keeping the water out of their garage.
Okay, something, but
I think there is something over there.
I guess, if, it's too bad if there was a swale or something that had been there, that would have been almost better, because it would have filtered out some of the water. Now it's discharging right, but
Normally with a pipe like this, you'd have some riprap, maybe 2 or 3
Right.
inch stone.
So-
I mean, he could put that in along with the plantings and just take it out 4 or 5 feet as a, to
French
slow
drain
water
type of thing,
down,
yeah.
so it doesn't cause erosion, just in the.
Yeah.
let's find out what the heck it is. Just see if it's not.
I don't know what it is, but.
The septic overflow.
I don't know.
they got sewage out there.
Yeah, but
No, I'm sure it's a water drain from somewhere.
Somewhere, but
Yeah.
where?
I think it's from the driveway.
I do too.
Well,
yeah.
it could be.
I think there is one,
You can't just.
Yeah, the crummy part about that is obviously if there's an oil leak or something in the car, it's going right into the marsh, so.
I mean, let me look into it, see if it's been there a while, or something
Okay.
they put in with the new addition.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't show it on our plan as part of the new addition.
right. Would you get back to us on that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds,
So
We're going
does she have permission to do some plantings this spring?
oh yeah, I mean, we've already conditioned that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're just gonna show the revised plans to Pat and go from
Yeah,
there.
you talk about you need to order them quickly to do it,
Yes.
so I would go ahead.
Great, thank you.
But in addition to that, get Pat a plan that shows those things and try to incorporate some of the things we talked about. And then if you could talk to the owner about those rocks and stuff that's sort of left there, and let's see what's up with that pipe. Okay?
I'll take a look at it and follow up on a letter report. And the recommendation what to do for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How's the island in Greenbush holding up?
It's actually doing okay.
That's a challenge.
It's a challenge, yeah. No water there and,
Geese, no water,
And-
lots of traffic, no height.
whoever did the grading ran over it a million times with a heavy
Pretty
piece of machinery,
compacted.
so it's either really dry or really wet, there's no in between.
Look at you guys starting that thinking, my gosh, what a
And the geese keep crossing the street, stopping traffic everywhere.
But I put some compost down, it's coming. The microbes are gonna turn the soil.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
What's that?
Thanks for coming, Chris, I knew you had to go get a babysitter and everything else, so. all right.
Thank you.
I didn't hear what you said.
I'm just walking out. Yeah, this,
Let's see. I'll fill you in on a few things. So what's Ship Shape Day?
May 2nd, I think, or something. Yeah.
Is North and South River using the Driftway Park the same day? Is that,
I believe it is.
Oh, we got Hawthorne.
yeah, we'll talk about that.
Chip Shape Day is May 2nd?
May 2nd.
Thank you.
I just did a PSA on.
You're so handy with your PSAs, it's great.
15 minutes, we're gonna be gone from this room, so.
All right.
Sounds
I
good.
make a motion, we accept the minutes for March 18th as written.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes for April 1st, 2016 as written.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm done.
Rosemary, did you want to add anything before we move this along?
Sure, when you get people doing all these plantings, think of people's allergies. You mentioned goldenrod.
I almost said to him, back off on that, I'm allergic to goldenrod and ragweed, we don't need any more of that.
Maybe it's a special kind of goldenrod.
Seaside goldenrod.
That's my worst time of year, is like right when that stuff.
Sounds like a marketing plan to
Oh,
me.
yeah, September, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
That's it?
There's a couple of
No
requests
other
for
words of wisdom
certificate.
Let's-
Oh,
That's it for those.
Oh,
I'll make a list for next time.
Okay.
Make a list, make a
Does-
grocery list.
while Rosemary's here, there is going to be a coastal advisory commission, and that's going to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and I think they're looking for people to express an interest, and there's going to be a meeting next week for all boards and commissions, and explaining what each board...
What day is that, Pat?
21st.
believe it's a Tuesday night.
Yeah, the 21st.
At
21st, it's
Scituate
Pier
Harbor.
44, 6 to 8.
Is it dark already?
Do we have a liaison from Concom to the Coastal Commission Committee?
Pat.
It's open. No, it can't be, I don't think.
It'd have to be one of our stellar
Are they
members.
appointing one of you? Are they asking one of you to be on it, or?
That's what I just
They've
asked.
asked us, I think. I don't think they've made an appointment. But you know what? Nancy was involved in this, so maybe Nancy has spoken to
Find out.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we can appoint her. as
If they'll be
special-
meeting during the day, we could send Jed.
yeah, right, yeah.
That's right.
No, you always nominate the guy who's not here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He's working.
No, how often, I wouldn't mind doing it, I just don't know if I'll be available, like, how often will they meet, and,
We don't know.
It sounded like it'd be like a regular committee in the town, and it would be probably monthly, and they wanted quarterly reports to the Board of Selectmen. And it's going to be hard to get some of these people to commit to this, because they're trying to get Rebecca Haney from Coastal Zone. I don't know if she can do that many meetings, but it'll start out slow, I think, and
You live in Humrock, Paul, don't bother.
Wow.
because the competition for the spot will be so hot, you know.
right.
yeah.
Well, we ought to find out if there's a liaison from, it would be good to have somebody from this commission.
Nancy asked me today who I thought would be good.
So she isn't it?
And Carol said none of them, they're all crazy.
Actually, I suggested Richard or.
Yeah, I think Richard, yeah, or Bill.
Because I figured Paul would be flying.
And away.
Yeah, these guys will be.
All right, well, let's bat that around. But next meeting, we'll figure out who's.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what, there was a printout that, it wasn't electronic, so
Maybe we
Carol
could share
scanned it.
it. It could be a shared position
Yeah.
between Paul.
Yeah, that might work too.
Paul and Lisa.
Carol,
It worked too good when they did that with CPC, Direct Department that year,
Yeah.
that got nicked.
Well, you only get one vote. You just,
They,
Carol printed out
She could do it.
the makeup of the committee and the charter and all that. It wasn't electronic, so Carol scanned it, we can send it to you
okay.
tomorrow. And that at least explains what the goal is and who's on it and that kind of stuff. But I think Nancy's working on trying to get names.
the
Okay.
seawall. Is this in place, the seawall?
Yes.
It's not in place of, but seawall phased out and this was starting.
Well, it's been disbanded.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, seawall's too narrow. They need a broader.
yeah.
So this is in place of, this is what I heard that.
No, I think it's just more all-encompassing.
It's broader, yeah.
For the future rather than.
Right.
Okay.
But seawall issues can go through this committee to get to the
Just
selectmen.
spend 5 minutes on that.
I'm happy with
Well, that's because Rosemary's here, that's right.
Come on.
I'm leaving. Good night.
And we're going to have the presentation probably in June now with Coastal Zone and DEP person. So it'll be after our May meeting on Central Ave and before the summer.
Everybody has to.
Could I ask one question on that?
Sure.
Just a thought. In terms of notifying people in our area specifically, the conservation exists and the rules have to be followed. What about just a mail-in to the northern end particularly?
Right.
Maybe we should get one of those flashing billboards that they have up around town. We could,
No, I don't think that would work.
Hire Blaine. Have Blaine.
Lisa could just stand up in
You should
the
reach
street.
people at all different addresses.
Right.
with the sandwich
People are
board.
coming in every day and
Lisa
starting
with the sandwich
projects.
board and a
I
megaphone.
know.
A megaphone.
I know.
But you know, money would need to be spent, you know, I don't know where it would come from, but
Yeah.
if they had an official notice, maybe some of this stuff wouldn't be going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
In the webs, yeah.
No, well, yeah, don't confuse the excuse with the reason. You know, when people all come, whenever they come in, they always go, I didn't know, because what are you gonna say? The only guy to ever come in and say, I knew,
Yeah.
was Augie. He said, yeah, I knew I wasn't supposed to do it, I thought you wouldn't let me.
But if almost
Good
a
example.
certified letter, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I suppose you'd have to do it to everyone, but
Yeah, and then there's Peggotty neighborhood too, there's a couple of spots, but you're right. And we do have a lot of the contractors who understand what they're supposed to do, and...
They know, the contractors all know.
Yeah.
They know. It's like, well, we can try, it's like when you hire a builder and you say, I want to remodel a bathroom, can we do it without a building permit? And he says, well, we can try.
Yeah.
And what's he say when he gets caught? Oh, you know, we didn't know. The homeowner says, we didn't know.
You might want to not comment there.
all right.
anyway.
All right, thanks, Rosemary.
Take care.
Everybody always has
We can get down that road with pilots, but we're not gonna do that tonight.
No,
Oh.
all the rules.
That,
We don't want to lose our job and have to get a real job.
that guy recently locked out his pilot there.
Just don't even go there. That's,
Okay, what else we got?
You're crazy.
Certificate of compliance,
Yeah.
25 Surfside Road, this was a knockdown and a rebuild several years ago, 2011.
is it close?
Spanish style.
Is it close?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a super job.
And actually, they had originally put in for a pool, got approved for a pool, and then never put it in.
Okay.
That big stucco.
Yeah, it's the same footprint, and the utilities were on the side. I think that was, they have pavers where they said they were gonna have pavers.
Okay.
And, but this proposed pool never got put in, so this is all lawn now.
Okay.
And it didn't get put in because cobble filled this yard. It wouldn't be a good idea to put a pool there.
You just go swim in the ocean.
Yeah, that one in Humrock, that thing
Yes,
gets
that guy
pummeled.
was right on the seawall.
It's beautiful, but it gets pummeled
Yeah.
up.
It doesn't seem to favor.
So you're good with it?
Yeah, this is the next
Okay.
slide.
Hit it.
This is the first one I've been out there, it hasn't been.
We don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we don't have to
Yeah.
vote on it?
It's a different house in a different place.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved it across the street and they took the septic out.
What's happening at 47 Surfside Road? What's the problem down there?
Two down from this guy.
Yeah.
This guy, he bought the house last year and he lost his deck and he wanted to know if he could create parking, let me think, parking just off the street where it's currently a lawn. And so I went out there, took a look, and I said, you're gonna have to file something because you're trading, pervious for impervious. But everybody along there has paved or concrete driveways out there. And the problem is you can't park on the street there, so he wanted to, pull up. So he wants to rip up a driveway and make that pervious pavers, and then put concrete. So it may end up being a trade-off. I said, I'll go out and look, and then then you'll have to file. So he'll be filing. And he's got a wrecked deck too. The deck got destroyed. So.
Anything more with,
His attorney wrote to the town administrator saying that they have a plan for this land and they want to sit down with us. And, and I told her, I said, we have an enforcement order. I wouldn't go for any plan until we get all that stuff taken out of there. And we haven't heard back from them, but,
6 feet.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Right.
That was,
That's like started when I first got on the,
yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. It's like the pear trees. It goes back away. So should I put him on the next meeting or the meeting after that? The, Mr. Kamen.
Oh, my
Do the
God.
next meeting, huh?
yeah, that's fine.
Is Richard back?
Yeah, do it the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't want
You're not here either, right?
No.
There you go. Why not? We'll already be totally confused. Let's just,
Is Richard back for the next meeting?
I thought you were talking about Hoffler.
yeah,
Richard's back. Richard's back?
I'll be here.
Talking about
Yeah.
both of them.
Okay.
Doing the same.
yeah, so let's put them on for the next meeting.
All right,
Right.
All right?
okay.
Get anywhere with Piggity Beach?
Well, we had a pre-meeting before the town meeting. The selectmen opened up and held a hearing, and then called me up there with Adam Brodsky and all the parties. And it came back to us. This is back in our lap now,
Okay.
so. They're gonna, I think we're just gonna say refile. They have a new NOI. We gotta get, the town's an owner, they gotta be part of this, they gotta agree to it. There may need to be a permit or a license to do something on town-owned land. We have to get an engineered plan instead of a sketch drawing. So, but in the meantime,
Is Stan doing that?
I hope so. But in the meantime, they were told they were gonna have to lower the dune, and then they were told at that meeting, don't touch anything. So I don't know where that is.
I thought they were told, do not block anybody's passage to the beach.
They can't do that either. They weren't even supposed to put the fence up. They put the posts in, but I don't know if they've connected with fence
They
pieces.
put the fence in too.
Is it all the way, I don't know if it goes all the way down. It might just be in front of
So
the field.
They were asked that day not to, they were
Right.
told not to put.
By the Board of Selectmen,
And
too.
they did it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they're being told, don't touch anything else right now. But nobody can have a blocked access to the beach. I mean, if
Right.
one person has it, they should all have it.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
So, but they're gonna have to file, and I have to go back out there. I just didn't have it in me this week to go back out.
Okay.
Next week.
I get requests from like at least 3, maybe 4 scouts for life badges. I've asked a couple of them to kind of go back to the Driftway again, because that's an ongoing place, and I suggested maybe the Ellis parking lot.
Well, I saw a place the other day that
Where would be?
it's kinda on the edge of private property, public property. It's that one on Clap Road, I think it's 41, where there was a lot of clearing in the back. It's a stream, there's a beautiful wetland, and there's oil tanks out there, and there's everything. And it
No,
kinda-
but this is I'm talking about a Boy Scout for Scout projects.
Right, have them clean this up, help clean this.
What are you talking?
It's 41 where the
Yeah.
horses are.
I told you that, when you told me you were going out there, I told you
It's
that.
all cleared out back. It's a mess, but there's a lot of junk, and if some, I mean, we can't really make them do it. They
Why?
just bought the house, and, I
You
mean,
find these problems.
yeah, they didn't create it, they, you know.
Are they coming in, are they out of jurisdiction for the septic?
Yeah, they're out of jurisdiction. They have horses, they're putting a new septic system in, and this is way out back from.
No, I know where it is.
But I mean, the scouts would be picking up papers at the Driftway. I mean, if there's something
Well,
that more substantial.
I'll ask them if there's somebody that wants to do a better, I don't know if a scout could do an eagle badge out of a cleanup like that or not, I don't know.
Yeah, right. And it was a life badge too, wasn't it, an
The
eagle?
life
right?
badges are maybe 6 hours of work
Yeah,
by
yeah.
half a dozen scouts. They've done the Driftway Park about a year ago. They've done the Ellis, the small Ellis parking lot. I met a kid just before all the snow fell that was gonna do the Driftway. I don't think he got to it, so hopefully, I asked if maybe a couple of them could, like, tag team each other on the Driftway Park. It just
Right, they
seems,
can get together, like my life project, we got like 10 guys, cleaned a whole pond out, like pulled
Yeah.
tires out and,
but I didn't know if maybe, can 2 guys get a badge if it's a big enough project? Can they?
Right.
Can they work together to
And
to do that?
that area down by Goulston on Oceanside, filled
Geez,
with
that's, that's
debris.
another a good idea, actually,
Filled
those
with stuff,
marshes.
yeah. A lot of marshes. yeah.
Okay.
But that's big stuff. that's out there.
Well.
They want to earn their
if they-
badge.
If they drag it out to the street and then we'll work it out with Mike Breen, he's been pretty good about that.
Right, and if they say it's too big for them, but you can, like, when I did mine, we got some dad's trucks, and we,
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
If they-
I was shocked at what was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just washed
bad.
over.
But it's big. I
In the blizzard of 78, it was houses.
Well,
Yeah.
that was 78.
Across from Lisa's house, there's all sorts of stuff out. You know, down that end, there's propane
When we were
tanks
out
out
at
there.
Moreland, there's a channel marker from the river.
Oh, yeah.
That's big. All
Frank
right.
wanted me to take it home. Couldn't get it.
I picked up the other stuff. I told Penny and Lisa
Yeah,
to
get
grab
that.
that.
He found a life preserver.
Maybe that's why her back is out. She was picking up junk.
He took it home. Couldn't get it.
And Crosby, the town had finally approved the contract for the engineer to design that. The engineer's working on getting those things designed. We went before the planning board the other night, and they granted us permission to open up the stone wall, so we're off like a herd of turtles.
Right under the deadline. What do you have, 2 months to get it finished?
Yeah, I think Vinnie's gonna need to backpack in for a bit.
Whoa, 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 you can tell.
Okay?
Make a motion.
Another West End problem, Paul. Another West End.
Mainlanders, all these mainland problems all the time.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
8 o'clock.
A motion?
God.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
The next meeting is Hummerock, the Stones,
Look at-
DP.